So how do we do it? Well, that's what we'll get into in a few steps here. But, just to point out also by those numbers, like sociology has known for a long time that belonging comes before believing. If you just focus on a set of beliefs or a set of practices and try to just say, if everybody believes the same thing, they're going to form a community. But sociological data for a long time tells us that that's not what happens. And so if we do that, our principle's flawed, right? If we approach it from, if they all just profess the same belief, they're all going to naturally just come into this community and really know each other. Well, maybe they'll gather, but that doesn't mean that they'll really know each other. So it's not only ineffective, but it leads young people to distrust and disengage from the institutions that present them these teachings. So we need to figure out how we can make the church, how we can make All Saints a place where young people feel like they belong. When Springtide, the company with this data, asked them where they felt a sense of belonging, young people always pushed back. They were asking the wrong question. They were asking them where they felt like they belong, but they didn't ask who made them feel like they belong. It's the people, not the place. It's the relationships that create a sense of belonging. Most of all, between these caring adults, being able to reach out to them to help them combat loneliness, isolation. We've seen it in the data. One adult can have a big impact. To put it simply, you guys are the answer to be able to help. Well, so how do we do it? How can we do it? So the way that they call it this term, belonging relationships, which is a relationship that cultivates the state of or feeling of belonging in another person. So we can see, again, participating doesn't mean belonging, right? You can show up all you want. Just because you're participating in something doesn't mean that you actually belong there. So how can we make All Saints this place that people feel like they belong? And how can we do it? We have to be intentional in the way that we do it. So we want to help you guys to be able to do this. So we want to take you through this process here that just increases. So there's some pretty clear things that appear in the data of what young people say makes them feel like they belong somewhere. And we break it out into 3 levels here. So level 1, noticed. Level 2, named. And known. We want to make sure that every young person that comes to faith formation at All Saints is noticed, named, and known. And so we're hoping to be able to help you guys with just like concrete steps that you guys can take, not just like, hey, please go make this happen, okay, go. But what are some like practical things that you guys can be able to do? So we'll get into these a little bit more here. So being noticed, being seen or acknowledged, even in the simplest ways, the initial step to creating belonging. It's here that they are invited into a relationship by someone expressing interest in them. It can be as simple as waving or saying hi across the way. So in the past year, we had a family come. It was like 2 months after I started last year. They came here from another church, and they said, we went through First Communion preparation. My daughter's been prepared, and our church still isn't doing Mass, and my daughter wants to receive First Communion. And Father Wilson said, awesome, come on in. Carl, take care of it. And I said, all right, sweet. So I got to meet with them. They came in. It was their oldest daughter making First Communion, and then they joined our church. Ever since then, I've seen them at Mass every single Sunday at 9 a.m. They have 4 girls. They have twin girls in first grade who signed up for formation last year. So I would stop and I would see them in the first grade room. I also go to 9 a.m. Mass most of the time, so I would see them. These girls, the entire first grade class, Avery, I think they were in years, right? Johanna and Paloma never said anything the entire time I was in there. Did they ever say anything to you? Oh, they talked to you? Never talked to me once. The entire year. I'd come in, I'd say hi to them, never talked to me the entire year. Went to Mass, said hi to them, never talked to me the entire year. I think it was March of this year, I waved at them every single time I saw them and said hi at Mass. They finally smiled and waved back. It took a long time. A simple thing. Wasn't complex. Hello, girls. Good morning. How's it going? Just a wave. Half the time I wouldn't even say anything. I'd be walking down the aisle and they'd be sitting there and they'd turn around and I'd just go give a little wave. Simple ways to be able to notice them. Named. So we know Nikki talked about this a little bit. It seems like a very simple thing, but it has deep meaning and it's really important. It's a basic but significant way to demonstrate that somebody is known and they belong here. It communicates a felt experience of being noticed and is necessary for being known. So if we want to get to level 3 and we want them to actually be known, we can't do that without knowing their name. Now, I've heard from before that there would be mission partners who would go through the entire year with a group of kids. Now, I also heard that they sometimes had like 20 kids in a room. So it does make it a little bit difficult. But they would go through the entire year and they wouldn't know a single name of the kids in their room. We can do better than that. We can definitely do better than that. So this is part of the reason why with the discipleship teams, we're keeping it small. We're going to go 8 to 10 if they're a little bit older. If they're younger, we're going to go up to 12. Sometimes we might have to go to 14, but that would be the most, right? Because you can't know 20 different names and actually know 20 different people in this short amount of time that we have. But 8 to 10, we can know everybody's name, and we can know a little bit more about them by that. So this one is really the bridge. So being noticed is the start. Being named really bridges this, and it makes being known possible. There's this rabbi, and for some reason I didn't put his last name in here, so all I have is Rabbi Jonathan. I don't know what his last name is. But he defines community as that place where I am known by name and I'm missed if I'm gone. Sound familiar? Again, being named is inextricably connected to somebody's identity, right? Your name is a part of who you are. So calling, welcoming, and greeting by somebody by name instantly creates a connection with them. That's why we did that with you guys here tonight. We know your name. We've been waiting for you. You have a place where you belong here. Level 3, being known. This one's a little bit more difficult. So built first on being noticed, then being named. Being known adds the essential dimension of unreserved acceptance and allows for a true sense of belonging. Unreserved acceptance. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've seen or how many times even I've experienced it in the church of being turned away by somebody because they are passing judgment on me or what I'm saying or what I'm doing. It's easy to do. Often it's well-intentioned, but if we think about it, it's really missing the mark of what we're trying to do. By offering correction in lifestyle and behavior, it misses what we're trying to do. Now, that doesn't mean we just want to say, go and live whatever life you want, or we want to condone behavior contrary to the faith or immoral behavior. That doesn't mean we want to do that, but we really have to look at what are we doing here. So you guys have, this year, 19 sessions if we don't get any snow days or cancellations. So that's 19 times, an hour and 15 minutes. We'll call it an hour at most. So you guys have 19 hours to really get to know people. It's not a lot. And it makes it really difficult to be able to sit there and look at somebody and say, I know you well enough to call you out on this and to be able to say that you need to change something in your life. I'm not saying you can't do that, but it takes a much deeper relationship than going over 19 hours. And I think we have to sit and ask when I look at it, and for myself, when I was sitting here wondering what the heck I'm going to say to you guys, I was trying to decide like how far I want to go with this point, but I think it's really important to just think. I love this line, unreserved acceptance. Unreserved acceptance. I accept you. You have a place here no matter what. You have a place on my discipleship team whenever you come. we're waiting here. I know your name. And if you're gone, I'm going to let you know that we missed you and we hope to see you next time. Our role is to be able to hand on what's been given to us, to offer and to invite to a life fully alive. A life where mercy, goodness, and love reign. Our job is to invite them to believe in a God that loves them no matter what and will never, ever fail them. Our role is to show them that they belong to a community that cares about them despite any shortcomings or failings that may come or that are in their past. That's what we're here to call to do, to show them that no matter what, there's a place for them here at All Saints. So I've learned some experiences, mostly with middle schoolers, sometimes with high schoolers, but mostly with middle schoolers about this. So I love it when whenever I'm around middle schoolers and they know like what my job is, and then all of a sudden they cuss, and they like look at me like, "Oh, he's gonna yell at us," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've never heard that one before." You know, it's like, I'm not here to tell you to stop cussing. That's not my job. You know, do I want you to do it? No. Do I need to tell you that? No, because when you go like this, I know that you already know that I don't like it when you do that. But that's not my job. I would rather want you to want to not do that. And maybe I can just show you that there's a way that you don't have to do that. The other one that I love, and Catherine, this is like Catherine's favorite thing who helps us with the activity day for First Eucharist. When they start talking about Sunday Mass, and there's always one kid who will shout out, "We don't go to Sunday Mass." And then like moms in the back just like, "Oh my gosh," you know, like the most embarrassing thing. Again, right? I'm not here to make sure and to police you and to tell you that you got to come to Mass. I can share with you, hey, the church says that the church wants us to come to Mass. That must be important. I wonder why it's important. I come to Mass every single Sunday. Hopefully I'll see you there. Right? So we don't need to put them on the spot. We don't need to embarrass them. We don't need to call them out. If we ever do need to do that, we can do that one-on-one with them because we know them, because we've noticed them and we've named them. So we can do that individually if we ever need to do that, right? But in these short relationships, that's not the goal, right? We want to be able to make sure that they are unreserved accepted here. And we can do it together. I can't do it by myself. Nikki can't do it by myself. You guys are the key to this whole thing, to making it work. It's up to you guys to be able to make this work. And we can do it together. We just got to be intentional throughout the year. Young people are fighting a culture that isolates them and leaves them alone and looking for a place to belong. They aren't looking at institutions. They're looking at you, and they're looking at me to be able to show them that they have a place where they belong. They're looking at us to be able to seek them out and to invite them into a relationship that really matters. It doesn't happen by accident. We have to be intentional. And again, the numbers, don't underestimate the impact that just you can have. Just you. Just one meaningful interaction with one child per week can make a difference. So, this is why we're moving to discipleship teams, because All Saints has to become a place where young people belong first. If we want them to join us in belief, if we want to share with them the great gift of Jesus that we've received, if we want to hand it on to them, we got to make sure that they belong. We got to make sure that they belong. So this is why we're doing discipleship teams.